When we talk about the dangers of cancer, it's usually not the first tumor that's the biggest threat. The real danger begins when cancer learns to travel. This process is called metastasis, when cancer cells leave their original home and set up new tumors in distant parts of the body. It's the moment a localized disease can become a systemic, life-threatening one. So how does a normal, well-behaved cell turn into an aggressive traveler? And why do different cancers seem to prefer spreading to specific organs? Let's break it down. Imagine a tumor as a crowded, competitive city. Inside, millions of cells are fighting for survival. Resources like oxygen and nutrients are scarce, and the body's immune system is constantly on patrol. This intense pressure forces some cancer cells to evolve. Over time, a few of them develop special abilities. They learn how to move, how to survive extreme stress, how to break free from their neighbors, and how to hide from immune attacks. These are the super survivor cells that eventually manage to escape. Every single metastasis begins with one of these survivor cells. Think about normal cells in your body. They stick together tightly, like bricks in a wall. But a cancer cell preparing to spread undergoes a dramatic transformation. It changes its shape, loosens its connections to other cells, and becomes more flexible and independent. It essentially turns from a stationary brick into a slippery, agile creature that can squeeze through tiny gaps in the tissue. This allows it to push its way toward the nearest blood vessel or lymph node, which are like the highways of the body. Once it reaches a blood vessel, now the real journey begins. The cancer cell is officially in the bloodstream, and it can travel almost anywhere in the body. However, the bloodstream is an incredibly hostile environment. The flow is fast and chaotic, and immune cells are constantly on the lookout for invaders. Most cancer cells that enter the blood die within minutes. But the survivor cells have tricks up their sleeves. Some travel in clusters for protection, while others cleverly disguise themselves by clinging to platelets or white blood cells. Even with these strategies, only a tiny fraction, less than 1 in 10,000, will survive long enough to reach a new organ. But it only takes one successful cell to start a new tumor. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Metastasis isn't random. Cancers have preferred destinations. For example, breast cancer most commonly spreads to the bones, liver, lungs, and brain. For colon cancer, because its blood supply drains directly into the liver, that's often the first place it goes. Later it might travel to the lungs or the lining of the abdomen. But sometimes, a cancer cell reaches a new organ and doesn't start growing right away. Instead, it goes to sleep. This is a phenomenon called dormancy. The cell remains alive but doesn't divide, almost like it's hibernating. It can stay dormant for months, years, or even decades. This is why some cancers, particularly breast cancer, can recur long after the initial treatment seems successful. The cells were just waiting quietly. Colon cancer, on the other hand, tends to return sooner if it's going to. So what wakes these sleeping cells up? Right. The trigger could be anything from the growth of new blood vessels to specific chemical signals from the surrounding tissue. Once awakened, the dormant cell starts dividing again, building its own blood supply, and forming a brand new tumor. At this stage, the cancer is considered systemic, and treatment shifts from trying to cure it to controlling its spread and managing the disease.